When you hear Ford V8, you probably picture Mustangs snarling down the quarter mile or F-Series trucks dragging trailer loads with effortless torque. But what if I told you Ford has built some of the biggest, most extreme V8 engines the planet has ever seen? Engines so massive and bold that they defy what most people even think a V8 can be. Today we're diving into the 9 biggest V8 engines ever built by the Ford Motor Company. Displacements, applications, engineering wildness, and at the end you'll have a new appreciation for how far the Blue Oval has pushed its 8-cylinder power. Let's start off with number 9 on our list, the 7.0-liter MEL V8. The MEL, for Mercury Edsel Lincoln, was introduced in 1958 and featured large bore stroke dimensions that pushed it up to 430 cubic inches right off the bat. This engine powered big luxury cars like the Lincoln Continental Mark III and even some select Mercury models. Though it never posted wild horsepower in modern terms, around 375 horsepower in its debut, the torque was strong and the displacement impressive for the time. It marked Ford's commitment to large block architectures in an era before high-revving small blocks became fashionable. Number 8. The 7.3-liter Megazilla version of the Godzilla, V8. While the standard Godzilla 5.8 is 7.3 liters, the Megazilla crate version pushes the envelope even further with high-performance components, CNC-ported heads, forged rods, high-flow intake, and emphasizes torque in monster builds. This engine represents how Ford Performance has allowed customers to access truly giant V8s for custom use, beating expectations for what Ford big blocks can be. Coming in at number 7, the 7.5-liter, 460 cubic inches, 385 Series Vi8. The 385 Series big blocks were used in full-size Fords, Lincolns, trucks, vans, starting in the late 1960s. With a 3.85-inch stroke and massive bore, the 460 saw ratings around 365 horsepower in its early years, and torque around 485 pound-feet, offering big car luxury and brute force. Yes, emissions and compression changes later reduced output significantly, but the raw displacement still stands out. Number 6, the 8.7-liter, 534 cubic inches, Super Duty V8. Used in heavy trucks in the 1960s and 1970s, this engine was designed not for speed, but endurance and torque. It powered large Ford trucks, F, C series, and even marine applications. With a bore of 4.50 inches and stroke of 4.20 inches, compression ratios under 8:1, it made modest horsepower for the size, around 270 horsepower, but torque was enormous, 480 plus pound-feet at very low RPM. These big blocks illustrate how biggest doesn't always mean fastest. It can mean heavy load mover. Sliding into number 5, the 9.4-liter, 575 cubic inches approximately, 385 Series crate Vi8. This is a modern, massively oversized version of the 385 Series built for aftermarket high performance. With bore and stroke around 4.50 inches each, this crate engine puts out roughly 655 horsepower and 710 pound-feet of torque, straight from Ford Performance's big block legacy. The jump in displacement here redefines what a Ford V8 can be in custom builds. Number 4, the 18.0-liter, 1,100 cubic inches, Ford GAA V8. Yes, you read that right, 1,100 cubic inches. This monster was originally developed in the 1940s for use in the M4 Sherman tank, then adapted and built during World War II. It's the largest displacement gasoline 5.8 Ford ever mass-produced. With a 5.40-inch bore and 6.00-inch stroke, dual overhead cams, twin ignition systems, and over 1,000 pound-feet of torque, the GAA is in a class of its own. Not a performance car engine, but a V8 legend. Number 3. The modern 5.2-liter Predator, V8. While this may not beat the giants in displacement, in terms of form factor, engineering, and output, it belongs on our list because it represents the upper extreme of Ford's Vi8 design in production cars. In the 2020 Mustang Shelby GT500, the Predator produced around 760 horsepower and 625 pound-feet of torque, aided by a 2.65-liter supercharger and advanced aluminum design. So while it's smaller in liters, it packs monster power and shows how Ford's V8s have evolved. Number 2, the Ford Boss 429 7.0-liter V8. This high-performance big block was built for homologation and performance in 1969 to 70 Mustangs. With forged internals, bespoke aluminum heads, and NASCAR lineage, the Boss 429 is widely celebrated. Though in straight displacement it doesn't top some others here, its importance and performance make it rank high. And finally, number 1, the largest displacement V8 ever built by Ford. The 18.0-liter Ford GAAV8 already mentioned above in number 4 in terms of listing order, but in terms of biggest, it takes the crown. Every other V8 on this list is dwarfed by it. The GAA represents singular engineering ambition and historical significance. Now let's take a step back and consider what this all means. Ford didn't build all of these engines for street performance or sweeping lead-foot glory. Some were built to haul tons of steel, others to dominate NASCAR, others for custom hot rods, and one for war. What unites them is the idea that V8 is not just a format, it's a statement of scale, durability, and engineering freedom. Whether you're talking a tank engine's 18 liters or a Mustang's 5.2-liter supercharged beast, these V8s show how Ford has repeatedly stretched its 8-cylinder concept to extremes. Displacement isn't everything, and power isn't everything, but when you combine big displacement with well-designed internals, strong torques, and the right application, you get engines that resonate with enthusiasts for decades. The giant blocks like the Super Duty or the 9.4-liter crate versions may not rev high, but they pull hard, live long, and remind us of what big can mean. Meanwhile, the modern Predator V8 reminds us that Ford's V8 legacy is alive and adaptable, even in an era shifting toward electrification. When you see a Mustang badge, you're not just seeing an icon, you're seeing decades of V8 evolution. When you see a Ford Performance Crate engine spec sheet, you're seeing roots that go back to massive blocks built for full-size Lincolns, trucks, or battle machines. And when you hear the roar of a big Ford V8, you're tapping into a legacy of bold design. So next time someone asks, what's the biggest V8 Ford ever built? Now you know. It isn't just about cubic inches. It's about history, engineering ambition, and the courage to build engines that push past the ordinary. These 9 examples? They're proof that Ford has, time and again, locked up 8 cylinders and dared to make them enormous. Ford's V8 legacy didn't just happen overnight. It was born out of a century-long obsession with mechanical power and precision, an obsession that started when Henry Ford himself experimented with 8-cylinder layouts in the early 1930s. The original flathead 5.8 of 1932 was revolutionary, being the first affordable V8 engine for mass-market cars. Before that, V8s were rare, exotic, and reserved for the ultra-wealthy. Ford changed all that. That humble 3.6-liter flathead created the foundation for everything that came after, setting a tone of innovation and power that would ripple through the decades. When you think about the massive engines that came later, the Boss 429, the Super Duty 534, or the Godzilla, each one can trace its roots back to that original block of cast iron that redefined what the common man could drive. By the time Ford entered the 1950s and 1960s, American car culture was booming. Highways were expanding, cars were getting bigger, and so were the engines. Ford's engineers realized they needed to create engines that could handle heavier cars and faster roads. That's when big blocks like the FE and MEL series came into play. The MEL, for instance, didn't just power Lincolns, it became a status symbol. Its whisper quiet idle and effortless torque perfectly matched the luxury vibe of mid-century America. The 430 cubic inch version was particularly known for its smooth delivery, making it ideal for long highway cruising. These weren't engines meant for drag strips, they were for the open road, where power was about prestige as much as performance. But Ford was never content with good enough. As the muscle car era ignited in the late 1960s, the company's engineers and racing teams pushed harder than ever to prove Ford's dominance. That era gave us some of the most legendary V8s in automotive history. The 427 FE, for example, was a racing legend, used in the Ford GT40 that conquered Le Mans in 1966. That same spirit produced the Boss 429, an engine so overbuilt that its potential was never fully tapped in street form. Under the hood of a Mustang, it was detuned compared to its racing version, yet it remains one of the most collectible Fords of all time. The hemispherical combustion chambers, giant valves, and beefy bottom end made it a masterpiece of late 60s engineering. At the same time, Ford's workhorse engines, the 385 series big blocks and Super Duty 8S, showed that the company could build engines for any purpose. The 460 cubic inches and its siblings were found in everything from muscle cars to trucks to luxury sedans. They proved the versatility of the V8 layout, one design philosophy, infinite applications. Even Ford's commercial vehicles benefited from that design consistency, using massive displacements like 534 cubic inches to keep America's infrastructure moving. There's something poetic about it. The same company building small blocks for drag racers was also powering construction trucks and buses with V8s the size of small bathtubs. Fast forward to modern times, and Ford's engineering mindset has evolved but never disappeared. In the 2000s, environmental regulations and fuel economy standards were changing the landscape. Many thought the days of big V8s were numbered, yet Ford didn't abandon them, it reinvented them. The Coyote 5.8, for instance, was a turning point. Introduced in 2011, it used modern technology like variable valve timing and lightweight materials to deliver both power and efficiency. It proved that V8s could still be relevant in an era obsessed with efficiency. T500, it redefined what a street-legal Ford could do. It might not have the raw displacement of the old big blocks, but it embodies the same spirit of mechanical excess. Even outside of racing, Ford's V8s became cultural icons. They powered everything from police interceptors to luxury limousines to pickup trucks hauling half the country's economy. The Ford F-150's long-running success owes much to the durability and torque of its V8 engines. Millions of people have relied on that unmistakable balance of dependability and muscle. In rural America, the Ford V8 isn't just an engine, it's a way of life. Because in the end, that's what the Ford V8 represents. Not just power, but purpose. A legacy that keeps roaring even as the world changes around it. And that roar, echoing from garages, racetracks, and highways across generations, reminds us that some legends never fade. They just keep evolving, cylinder by cylinder, mile after mile. Thanks for tuning in. If you loved this deep dive into Ford's V8 beasts, make sure to smash that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so you won't miss our next engine adventure. Drop a comment. What's your favorite Ford V8 and why? I'll be reading them, and perhaps we'll dissect one in a future video. Until next time, keep those revs high and your torque even higher.